Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you join us for the Dexma webinar series. And today we have a very special guest joining us from the climate group. Her name is Jenny Chu, and she's going to introduce us to the EP100. So for the agenda for today, for those of you who don't know us, my name is Nicole and I'm from Dexma. I'll give a quick introduction to what we do here at Dexma. Then we'll hand it over to Jenny, who will introduce us to the EP100 initiative. It's a very exciting initiative about energy productivity. Then we'll pass it over to Danny, who's the product director here at Dexma, and he'll tell us about some tools and analytics solutions we can use to actually make energy productivity a reality in our companies. Then I want to remind everyone that we'll have a Q&A at the end of the session. So remember to keep your questions and enter them into this chat box, and you'll be able to ask anything you like to Jenny or Danny, and we'll get to those questions at the end of the session.
Jenny or Danny.
Jenny or Danny, that's right. So without further ado, I'll welcome Jenny. She's here with us, and Danny's here with me. So without further ado, let's get ready to go. So what do we do here at Dexma? Dexma, we're the energy analytics experts. We're based here in Barcelona, Spain. This is just a quick view of some of the places that you'll find our software. As you can see, it's a wide range of industries, a wide range of end customers that are using our software to manage their energy needs. Here is our global partner community. So we distribute our software indirectly through a network of over 250 partners around the world. And they're energy services companies, which we call ESCOs, utilities, and OEMs all around the world. Here are just a few of the things that the industry experts are saying about us. We're an exciting company to watch, and we've got great reviews on important review sites like Capterra, you can see. So that was just a quick introduction to us at Dexma for those of you who have never met us before. I know we have some partners that know us well on the line, so welcome you guys. And now I want to pass the floor over to Jenny Chu. Welcome again from the climate group. And she's going to introduce us to the EP100 and tell us all about that initiative. So I'm going to pass over to Jenny in just a second. Here we go.
Okay, so now
Jenny, you've got it. You've got the control.
Great. Thank you very much to Nicole and Dexma for this opportunity. It's really a pleasure to be on the webinar this afternoon with the audience today. My name is Jenny Chu, as Nicole introduced, and I am part of an international NGO called the Climate Group. We were established over 13 years ago here in London, and we are now located also in New York City, Beijing, and Delhi. And together, my colleagues around the world and I are working with international leading businesses, states, and regions to really deliver highly ambitious actions and targets to help keep the world below 2 degrees. And so our focus is really on climate change mitigation, especially by corporates and how they can work with their various subnational governments to make change happen. So moving on to the presentation today, we will be focusing on EP100, which is one of our leading corporate initiatives. Just trying to move to the next slide. Sorry about that. So EP100 is led by the Climate Group, but we're also doing this initiative in partnership with the Alliance to Save Energy, which is an organization that's been around in DC for more than 20 years. And we are also working as an action of the We Business Coalition, which was established 2 years ago and consists of 7 other leading NGOs who are all working with businesses and governments on climate change action. So the reason why we wanted to focus on energy productivity as a corporate initiative was simply because there's so many opportunities that remain untapped by energy efficiency. However, we wanted to rebrand energy efficiency, establish a new paradigm really to get people excited about payback periods and lowering energy consumption. But we wanted to reframe it so that we're focusing energy use and business operations for businesses so that they can understand really what are the co-benefits that come with better and smarter energy use. And these benefits include job creation, includes improving the bottom line, some of which I'll go into in more detail. So how we define energy productivity is really looking at the economic output over energy input. And what our campaign EP100 inspires companies to do is how do we maximize the economic benefits from each unit of energy that they consume. So essentially it's about how do you do more with less, and how do you tackle climate change while improving business growth and achieving development objectives. So what the energy productivity is a critical piece really to meeting Paris climate change agreements. And our partner organizations, including the Energy Transition Commission, recently reported that we, as a global stakeholder base, really need to improve our energy productivity on average by 3% a year to achieve our 2050 climate goals. By doubling energy productivity, and again, just to give more context, it's really the inverse of energy intensity metric. So again, you're looking at economic output over energy input. And so when you double this ratio, experts say that we look to stand to save $2.3 trillion in fossil fuel costs on an annual basis, as well as create more than 6 million jobs by 2030. If we look at other figures, we can actually generate an additional $18 trillion in global GDP between 2012 and 2035 alone. So bringing it back to what EP100 is as an initiative, it's a voluntary corporate commitment, and we are looking at how do we pair this commitment up with other well-known initiatives, including our sister campaign, RE100, which some of you may have heard about, and other leading initiatives, including science-based targets. What we're asking companies to do when they commit to EP100 is to double their energy productivity through energy efficient technologies and practices. And so the first step is really to choose a relevant energy productivity metric, and then to establish a baseline year as early as 2005, and to double this energy productivity metric within 25 years of the chosen baseline year. In emission terms, what we're really looking at is scope 1 and 2 emissions. And so as I mentioned a few slides ago, energy productivity is the inverse of energy intensity. But by flipping the energy intensity on its head, what we're allowing corporates to do is really to choose a metric, an economic indicator that makes sense to their business that will drive internal change. So what we have here on this slide is various metrics that companies can choose to really see the direct correlation between, again, their business performance and daily energy use. So the numerator, as we call it, the economic output, could be measured in number of units that you're producing. It could be measured in volume, in mass, in area, or employees, even full-time employees, the FTE metric, or revenues, especially for companies who have more than one product line and who have highly diversified business units. So again, we ask companies to choose this metric, and then they can measure it against either megajoule of energy, gigawatt, kilowatts, however they measure energy. Again, that makes sense to their business. And they have 25 years to double that energy productivity. And just to give a bit more context of why we wanted to flip energy intensity on its head is that when you're improving energy productivity, when you're doubling energy productivity or striving for that 100% improvement, when you put it on a graph, it's actually an upward sloping graph, and that's much more intuitive to the C-suite and to stakeholders, including your suppliers and policymakers and financiers. And so what we think by joining EP100, your company at a minimum will indeed communicate a strong business case to the stakeholders I just mentioned. And by joining EP100, you'll also be able to showcase your leadership through quite a high-profile global media campaign that the climate group, my media colleagues, will work hand in hand in developing an action plan to roll out your announcement, but also to make sure that the drumbeat and that all your achievements are able to be documented and presented throughout your low-carbon journey. Another benefit of joining EP100, our platform, is being able to participate in global peer-to-peer engagement and networking. So, for instance, last year during the last COP in Marrakesh, we were able to organize a very high-level 60-person dinner that included the likes of the former Secretary of Energy for the U.S., alongside Rachel Kite, who is the CEO for SE for All. And the other invitees included people coming from Global Environment Facility, from International Finance, IFC, the bank of financing arm of the World Bank, as well as other leading groups working on this issue. Part of another benefit that many of our members have already had the opportunity to take advantage of is being able to have a seat on panels at very high-level public-facing conferences and events. So again, referring back to COP, one of our first members to join, Dalmia Cement, Indian cement company, they were able to participate as a headline speaker in various side events and so forth. Just to give you a quick overview of some of our current members, on this slide you can see that the sectors represented include manufacturing. Again, I've mentioned cement. We also have an automotive maker from India, Mahindra. And then we also do have companies who are essentially walking the talk. So this includes the likes of Johnson Controls and Danfoss, who are primarily service and technology providers who help members become more energy productive, the wider community, but they also have, committed to doubling their own energy productivity as well. Most recently, we had the likes of H&M and Land Securities join. So this also adds to the breadth of the sectors represented. And we also have the hospitality community. So once we're able to get clusters of certain industries involved, then this will allow us to better define a more detailed agenda for the peer-to-peer networking and for the webinars that we plan to roll out as a value-added service for our members. In the next slide, oops, sorry, that jumped too quickly. I just wanted to present Johnson Controls as a case study and talk about their journey with EP100 using a few proof points. So again, as mentioned, they're a global diversified technology and industry leader serving a wide range of customers in over 150 countries. Since increasing energy productivity, having that goal, it has meant they have been able to save $100 million less in their energy bills each year. This is compared to if their energy productivity had remained constant. So that is absolutely, amazing amount of money that's being added to their bottom line rather than being taken away as a cost. So for their EP100 target, this company has committed themselves to doubling energy productivity by 2030 based on a 2009 baseline year. So that's a little bit less than the 25-year allowance that we provide. And their EP100 metric is revenue over gigajoule. Since joining the EP100 campaign, Johnson Controls have been featured in a variety of media outlets, including Business Screen, Energy Zine, Clean Technica, and Clay Nessler, their VP of Global Energy and Sustainability, has been given various opportunities to speak at EE Global, which is an annual event put on in DC by our partners, Alliance to Save Energy, at Green Biz at their annual Verge conference, and he's also been invited to speak at International New York Times in Paris. Most recently, in the next slide, we, as the climate group, again, do put on these very high-level conferences, and our most recent one where energy productivity was featured was at the Under 2 Clean Energy Forum, which was a side event to the Clean Energy Ministerial that took place in Beijing a few weeks ago. So we were very fortunate to have the likes of Jerry Brown, Governor Brown, and Christiana Figueres presented that day, and we had a specific panel looking at how states and subnational governments alongside corporates. And on the very bottom left-hand corner, you can see a photo of Clay from Johnson Controls sitting on the same panel as energy ministers from South Australia, from policymaker coming from India, as well as Katie Hill from Apple, who is working on their global energy supply chain. So it's very, it was picked up in different Chinese media outlets as well as international outlets. So I hope this gives you a flavor of the kind of events that we curate. And in the next slide, I just wanted to mention a few other upcoming events where anyone listening to this webinar, if you're able to convince your colleagues and your management that EP100 is a good idea, then we have some upcoming moments in time where you can showcase your leadership. So this includes the Business and Climate Summit in Delhi, which will happen late August. We also have our flagship climate group event. It will be our 9th year of holding Climate Week New York City, which takes place September 18th to the 24th. And our theme there will be jobs, prosperity, and innovation. So energy productivity will fall quite neatly within that overarching framework. And again, we will have presence at COP23 that takes place in Germany in November. So this is hopefully just a quick overview of EP100, why we're running this initiative. I hope it's a bit more clear. And we're really looking forward to working with partners like Dexma so that we make sure that companies who join really have a concrete pathway to reach their targets. And again, as Nicole mentioned, very happy to take questions towards the end. So yeah, thank you very much. And my email is there on that slide if anyone has any questions or would like to schedule a follow-up call or meeting. I'm based in London. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenny, for sharing your insights and knowledge about the EP100 with us and these experiences and success stories. We are really happy to be able to share this with our partner community, who can then pass on the initiative to their clients and hopefully get them involved, because it's really something we need to do all together globally, and yeah, it's super interesting for our community of partners, right, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. And now we are going to try to explain to our audience how to achieve those goals, okay? Because one, it's like the energy plan where you have decided to increase the energy productivity in 25 years by 100% or by 50%. But then it's which is the route, which is the journey that you have to do in order to achieve those impressive numbers, right? So basically today, what I'm going to explain you is the journey in the energy efficiency or how we see it, so which is our philosophy, and then like a couple of tools that you could use to start doing it in your own companies, right? So the first question is very easy, right? So what do you need to achieve your productivity goals? So our lemma here is to have a look at the energy productivity pyramid. And this is something that looks like this, okay? So, and it's very easy to comprehend and to understand that on the base of the pyramid, what you have to start doing, it's behavioral improvements. that they require very low investment and increase a tiny part of your productivity, right? But it's just the first things that you need to do. It's to start working with people, making some energy productivity awareness, making some training on how to operate with the energy, because at the end of the day, the people who are using the buildings are the people who can act on the building consumption, right? So let's tackle those first level with the behavioral improvements. Then if you keep scaling on the pyramid, then you have investment-driven improvements, okay? And then it's there are thousands of different technologies that you could apply here, okay? Some of those are property-initiated changes. That means that it's a property with its own resources that they start investing into their energy productivity increase, right? Such as, for instance, trying to reduce peak consumption, reduction in contracted potential energy, or a very small investment, such as lighting sensors, for instance, or LED retrofits, okay? So it depends. And then as soon as you arrive to the last level, then it's when you start to implement both renewables and expensive energy efficiency projects. And as we know that not all the companies have its own resources to invest in that, then it's where our ESCOs appears, the energy services companies, that they act as a banks, and they give you the money, and you just share your savings with them for a period of 10, 15, 20 years, so depending on your contract, right? And everything here, it's based on energy analysis, and that's what I'm going to explain you now, okay? If there are any questions regarding the pyramid or anything that we are explaining today, please remember that you have the question box into your software here, okay? So you can just write there. Then what is really important to understand is the path to the energy productivity, okay? And there is a path. So it's not that you just start a project and just start investing everywhere, because that's going to be something very chaotic and very expensive, okay? So you have to implement the process to the energy productivity. And the process is, first you have to detect where you have to invest and in which technologies and in which buildings you have. Then you analyze it and you start installing some meters that provide you real-time data, okay? And with that real-time data, you can measure and verify that you are achieving the correct savings and that your energy productivity is actually increasing, right? And then for the ones that are more complex to control or to act on it, then you can install control hardware, right? And you take 100% of control of it. So that's the vision, right? So you start doing detection analysis on 100% of your sites. Then you move some of those, the ones that are really, or the ones that have very big potential savings, then you move it to the analysis step. And then you end up just controlling a very tiny part of it, right? So this is like your funnel, okay? 100% of sites you have to detect everything, then 30% of sites you analyze, and then you control just a very tiny part of it. So let's work in a case where we are in a customer that has multiple sites, okay? In that case, what we are going to use, it's a retail store chain, okay? They have globally plus 4,000 stores, okay, so it's very huge chain in more than 60 countries, and their consumption is really huge. So it's 1.5 terawatt hour per year. This is impressive, okay? That's more like $150 million in energy per year. So that's impressive. And what they want to do is to increase their energy productivity in 35% by 2035. So it's their goal. So the first step is detect, right? So I have 4,000 stores, and I have to detect which ones of those have the most potential in terms of energy productivity increase, right? So, but that's the vision. I have multiple sites. I am in my office. Well, actually, it's more like this. You have 4,000 sites, and you don't even know where to start, right? So which is the first improvement that I have to do, and in which site do I have to do it? And this is a very huge work. that the first approach that we all do, it's working with Excel, right? So you just try to take the data that you have at hand, like the city, the ID of the store, the surface that it has, the last year consumption, and you try to create very simple indicators like the average kilowatt hour per square meter, something like that. The point is that we all work it in Excel, and you start with a very simple idea, but it becomes more and more complicated, and it becomes something really difficult that you don't even know how to start finding patterns or even find some conclusions, right? So you end up with that situation where you go here and that guy told to the other one, let me show you my spreadsheet. It's straightforward to the point. And then it goes the other one, well, better get another cup of coffee, right? Because Excel spreadsheet seems very easy and very cheap, so it's almost free, right? So you can use Excel for free almost. But then as it allows you to have a lot of freedom on it, then it's not straight to the point, and you start analyzing things that it doesn't really matter to the consumption, right? So what I would like to present you is a tool that you can detect which buildings are and very, very easy, right? That's a tool that compares a traditional model with the big data model, okay? So another way to solve that problem rather than with Excel spreadsheets would be making on-site audits, so one by one, but that's pharaonic work almost, right? So what we offer is the big data alternative, okay? Where you have a big database with many thousands of buildings similar to yours, and what you just need to do is pick the ones that are similar, that are already being invested in terms of energy efficiency, and you take the value from that, okay? And that's the approach, so the big data model. Because the challenge is that at the end of the day, all of the locations are different. So you don't have a homogeneous portfolio of 4,000 stores. What you have is flagship stores maybe in the New York Fifth Avenue that they consume a lot. And then you have very tiny stores in some malls, in some commercial centers. Or then you have the urban stores located in the downtown of different cities. But all of them are different construction materials, different location, different climate, different occupancy, different schedulings. So having similar conclusions for all of them, it's not easy, right? So what you simply have to do is to use a tool that allows you to compare your one site, and you repeat that process for all 4,000 sites in automatic mode. But it's a retail store, for instance, it has that surface, it's located in Barcelona, and then you have the bills, just the bills, okay? So it doesn't really need even the hourly data. Just with the bills, you can do a lot, right? Then the platform itself makes a normalization, takes the profile, and then it selects the similar buildings to yours, right? And with that cluster, it compares your building versus the similar ones and the text which savings or which retrofits you could start implementing. And it's something like this, right? So you have your own platform, you have your own different projects, you have all your supplies with your locations, okay? And then there is a beautiful step where it detects where you should start saving on, right? And it gives you more. So it gives you which is your overall potential to start saving energy. Okay, in that case, 46 means, okay, I'm in an average position, but I have a lot of potential to keep increasing my productivity. Okay, and it provides you a full list of recommendations where you can easily understand which building you have to tackle, the first one, because it has a payback of an immediate payback, right? Or a payback of less than 1 year. You can filter which kind of recommendations do you want to see, and then you can prepare a financial report to show it to your CFO and to start saving energy. So we have changed 4,000 on-site audits, taking as a base on the big data model, and we have detected a lot of retrofits that you could be developing without dying in the attempt to do that, right? So that's the scalability of the big data model. Okay. Then of course you can as well sort your recommendation by the metric that it's more that it's better for your project at the end of the day. Okay, so if you want to save just energy or increase comfort or CO2 emissions or whatever that you want to do, then you just select which is the metric that it's more suitable to your project, and then the platform itself ranks the retrofits that you should do by that metric. Okay, sorts it. Then if we move to the next step, it's the analysis step. Okay, it's okay. So once I've detected the buildings with higher potential, then I should start installing meters and I should get great data in real time, but I'm going to invest money on it. And if I'm going to invest money in it, then what I need to do is to check that I'm actually saving energy. And this is something that it's based on the IP MVP protocol, for instance, but you need real-time data to check it. Okay, so I'm going to show you right now how is it a platform of that kind. Okay, a platform where you have your own energy performance indicators here at glance. Okay, but you can go in detail and you can get the data from many different sorts of hardware. Okay, so that's a platform that's very compatible with many different hardware. Okay, so you don't have problems to integrate with your existing hardware or new hardware that you want to use, right? And once you have the data on the platform, then what? Then, for instance, what you can perform is an energy intensity analysis. So you could go here, select all your main fiscal meters for your buildings, then select which is the period time. So for instance, we're going to do a year-to-date analysis. Then we want it monthly. Then we update. Okay, so this is my first 6 months data of my project. Okay, all of them in kilowatt hours. You can change the variable to joule or to megajoule as you was explaining before, right? But then if you decide that your energy intensity metric or productivity goes by square meter, then you just click here, you select the area, okay, and now you have all normalized by your area of each building, okay. But for instance, what you could do as well is to divide it by occupancy. As we are working in a retail store, then something that it really matters is how many people has been inside my building, okay. So I can start making different normalizations by kilowatt hour. I can switch off the area right now. So for instance, the first building, it's a Houston building, and it has a ratio of 18.94 kilowatt hour per person, okay? But for instance, last month on May, it was only 16.78 kilowatt hour per person, right? Making all of these analysis and tracking these metrics with Excel spreadsheets, it's doable. But it's not scalable, right? So if you have more than 10 sites, then start using a platform like that one, because it's really worth it. For instance, what it gives to you, it's the worst ones, okay? So the worst ones for the whole period was Houston. Houston, we have problem. And then if we move and we try to compare with same period last year, what it shows you is that, okay, so Houston, it's the worst one, so it has 110 kilowatt hour per person, but it's decreasing at the ratio of minus 7.6% versus same period last year, okay? So it's saving energy. The ones that I should focus on are the ones that are increasing. So that one, it's not very intense, so it's 54.98 kilowatt hours per person, but it has increased it by 15% during last year. So I should now click on that one and then move and then try to find why it had that problem, okay? And the other thing that I would like to show you is the measurement and verification projects, right? So let me move to that one, okay? So if you click on measurement and verification projects, then it's where you track in real time how much energy you are saving, okay? So once you're starting an energy retrofit, so let's, for instance, an HVAC project, okay, I can define my baseline based on previous consumptions or based on formulas, okay? And then with Dexma or with a platform of that kind, what you can track is where you're actually saving energy and where not. So where you're still having some problems, some issues. So you can go very quick and then detect the problem and maybe install a control system. That problem was very, very easy to find. It was that the HVAC system was not taking into account that we were on weekend. So it was always making a part of it was always like in a consumption mode. But we installed a control system, and during the weekends, then the consumption started to be zero because it was empty, the building. Okay, that's continuing the process, so detecting, analyzing, and then controlling. Okay, but you need a platform of that kind to track your energy savings and to be in the correct path of it, right? So if I move back to my PowerPoint presentation, then the next step is control. And as well in control, you're going to have two different scopes of it, right? So first scope will be local control, and this is one by one, so site per site. This is the most simple control, like switching on off simple circuits. For instance, in my retail store, switching the lighting or on or off, or just a part of the lighting system, the part for the shop itself, not for the warehouse or something like that. Okay, and then it allows you to perform basic scheduling, like on Saturdays that should be the level of intensity or something like that. But it's very, very basic. However, with our platform as well, what you can do is to grow from local control to advanced local and global control, what we call the local control, okay? And it acts everything, so your 4,000 locations could act as a whole system. And this is very, very, very interesting when you are starting, for instance, demand response programs, okay? So there is a tool in some countries where you can tell the utility, I could adjust my power for a very tiny periods during the year, and for that kilowatts that I am adjusting my power, so I'm reducing my consumption, I will get some rewards, okay? So it's converting your facilities in a revenue generator. They can pay you up to 60 euros per kilowatt. So it's a very interesting opportunity to get money from that. But you need control systems. And not just one controlling one side, because just with one side you won't do anything. So you need to operate it as a virtual power plant almost, okay? So that's the remote response. Then, of course, you could be thinking into convert your facilities in a net zero energy buildings. The storage systems are there, so we all know that Tesla is pushing a lot, and Panasonic as well. And they will be in our houses and in our facilities very, very soon, like in 2 or 3 years. We all know that as well, the systems to generate your own energy consumption on site are there, okay? So, and the electrical vehicle can as well act as batteries. So if you interconnect all of this, then you have net zero energy buildings, and you could get some rewards from that as well, and some loans from your government. So it's very interesting, but it needs control. And then the cool one is when your HVAC, it doesn't respond on what happens out of the building. So for instance, the temperature, when you're in a cloudy day, right, the HVAC, it's pushing at the same temperature because it's running in summer mode, not in cloudy day in summer mode, you know. So what we offer is a layer and smart layer that it takes the information from the forecast of the temperature and from solar irradiance for the next 36 hours. So it doesn't matter if it's running in summer or winter mode, that he takes into the loop as a feedback what will happen in the next 36 hours. So it really optimizes your consumption without having to go as a staff operator there and set and modify the set points of the temperature. It makes it automatically. Okay, so very simple. As a recap, what we can tell you is that if you wanted to achieve the EP100 goals, a path to achieve it is to first detect, and you can do on-site audits, okay, but they could be probably expensive and would take a while. Then you can use simple spreadsheets, okay, because managing 4,000 buildings, it's like shame. And then the energy grader platform, okay? So it's the one that you just import the information and then it calculates with artificial intelligence algorithms where you can save energy. Then of course the analysis, so you move some of those to the analysis step where you can as well analysis in Excel. Yeah, you can do that. I wouldn't suggest you to do it, but anyway, then you can use analysis tools, of course, with IPMVP protocols on it, okay, because what you want to do is to try to measure and verify that you are actually taking savings from this. And then the control, right? So you can do basic control or advanced control to get more rewards, right? And that's all from my side, Nicole and Jenny.
Thank you so much, Danny, for showing us some tools that we can use to make energy productivity real and to actually follow up and communicate our results when we're trying to follow through on our energy productivity commitments. Now it's question time. We have a few questions here lined up, and I just want to remind everybody again to check out the questions panel in their GoToWebinar and send us through any questions you might have for either Jenny or Danny. So we have one question here from Anatoly about normalization for weather. Mm-hmm. Danny, maybe you can take this one to start off.
Yeah. So I think that he's referring to the platform. Yeah, what we offer as basic ratios or as basic normalization variables are the heating degree days and cooling degree days, for instance, that basically it normalized by the weather that you have, well, that by the weather that it was into your site. As well, we offer the average temperature. But what it's cool is that the platform is wide open, so you can really use the variable that you want to use. So for instance, the humidity could be the one, or heat transfer if you have it. So it's open to the any variable that you want to use.
Great, thanks so much for that question, Anatoly. Jenny, are you there with us still?
Yes, I am.
Hi. We have a question all the way from Panama. One of our audience members would like to know if EP100 is open to all companies from around the world, or is it just for big companies like the one you showed us? Could you give us a sense of the openness of the initiative?
Yes, sure. So in our initial phase, so we've launched a little bit over a year ago. We do want to capture companies of a certain size and from certain sectors, but I do welcome any queries and we can evaluate on a case-by-case basis. But I would say that we're open to companies as long as that are able to publicly commit to doubling their energy productivity and that their participation will be beneficial not only to themselves, but that they can serve as good business case studies for the wider stakeholder audience. So apologies for not having a clear boundary for which companies can join. It's just to say that I encourage the person who asked the question to get in touch and we can discuss further. But we do realize that in the long run, we absolutely have to involve all companies, SMEs included, to really be able to reach a tipping point in what we're doing. So
great.
I hope that helps. Yeah.
I think so. I think that gives us a better idea. And maybe we can ask sort of the same question to Danny. Are these tools only for big companies who, like the example you used with 4,000 retail locations, or can any company use the tools?
Any company actually could use platforms of that kind, right? So for the energy grader, as soon as you had just one site, then you can compare it with your on-site audit, mm-hmm. or just go ahead and make it remote. So very, very easy, very, very quick and very cheap. And then for the Dexma as well. So as soon as your consumption is higher than 50,000 euros per year, mm-hmm. then it's suitable for you.
Great. So thanks for that question from Panama. Maybe one last question to wrap up as we get closer to time, Jenny. Can you shed some light on maybe some of the common roadblocks that companies that want to join the initiative are facing? obviously for the biggest ones, the resource issue is not such a big problem, but what would you say are the biggest roadblocks they face when they start on their energy productivity journey?
Yeah, I think some of the common issues is just knowing where to start, which points to the importance of Danny's presentation where he says, getting a basic baseline down through energy audits and other mapping of, taking stock of where your energy is being used and is very important. And I think often companies don't know, where to begin really, who to even go to that is trusted, that can do the energy audit. So part of our reason for building a platform around energy efficiency technology and services is to be able to provide some general guidance. So we will never come up with an endorsement list. That's not our purpose, but to be able to help companies ask the right questions on how do they start their EP journeys. Since when evaluating a service provider, what are some of the key questions they need to be cognizant of and to be able to ask, what sites would they need to have energy audited and what sites could they just have data extrapolated against? So these are common questions. And also another barrier is for our companies is really getting very wide internal buy-in. So management may have signed off on this initiative, and then they find that they have other coworkers who don't really understand the value proposition. So again, as a platform, we're hoping to provide proof points and business case studies that they can bring back internally and really explain why is it important that we all care about how we use energy, how we measure it, and how we improve our energy use, and how does that help essentially improve our business performance. And so it's giving the tools to be able to illustrate what is normally a topic that people view just normally left for the plant engineers. So it's, again, another purpose of our platform is to put energy on the agenda of every employee, essentially, and giving people the capacity building and the tools and the proof points from our member companies, but also from other partners to be able to help illustrate this business case throughout their company.
Thanks, Jenny. We have one last question before we wrap up. It's a question about the concentration of who you're going after to sign up to the EP100. Mainly, I understand it's commercial sites, or are you also encouraging government sites to join in? I know before you were talking about high-level global initiatives.
Yeah.
And are they also part of your target group?
So for our EP100, our target audience is really corporates or businesses. So although we do have touch points with government through conferences or roundtables, the entity that signs up to double their energy productivity should be a business, essentially.
Right. Okay, thank you so much to everyone who asked questions, to everyone who joined us today for the session, and especially thank you so much to Jenny from the Climate Group for joining us and sharing about the EP100. As you can see, it's a powerful and new way to communicate energy efficiency, but in a more positive way. And then, of course, the tools that you need to make it a reality and to make it happen. So. Yeah. Thanks, Danny, also. And
thanks to you, Nicole. Thanks to you.
With that, we're going to wrap up. If you guys have any more questions, you can reach out to any one of us. You see our emails up on the screen. And with that, I think we will sign off for today. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.